Now, the UN Environment Chief expressed disappointment, and that's following the failure to reach a consensus on the world's first legally binding treaty to tackle plastic pollution. Now, this all comes after delegates sought a breakthrough in the deadlocked UN talks in Geneva. States pushing for an ambitious treaty said that the latest text released in the early hours of Friday failed to meet their expectations. Earlier this month, diplomats and climate advocates warned that efforts to cap virgin plastic production are opposed by petrochemical producing nations and the US.
Everyone has to understand that this work will not stop because plastic pollution will not stop. We at UNEP are here to support this process, and we will not stop. We will continue to engage in the multilateral process as member states desire, and we will also engage at the ground level with member states who so request in terms of programmatic support for enabling an enhanced management and an end to plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. Thank you.
Well, let's get some more insight into the reasons behind the failure of those talks. Joining us with some more insight is Gérance Moutoul, an environmental scientist and Greenpeace Africa Plastics campaigner. Great to have you on the show with us, sir. Now, of course, as we mentioned, these talks have been going on for a while. They've been going on since the year 2022. Give us a sense of the main roadblocks that are standing in the way of reaching a consensus, and certainly what are the main sticking points that led to the collapse of negotiations this time around?
Thank you for having me. And countries have not agreed on scope of the treaty. Where should this treaty start and where should it end? Some countries are of the opinion that the scope should cover from production until disposal, which is the full life cycle of plastics. And others are saying like production is not part of the life cycle. But even with basic science, we already know that the life cycle of anything, including butterfly, starts from an egg, larva, pupa, and adult. Other countries also do not want chemicals of concern being mentioned on the treaty text, meaning that they don't want to see anything on chemicals in the treaty text. Also, some countries also are fighting on the financial mechanism. Who will contribute? Who's going to be the host of this finance? And who will govern this finance? These are part of the things that have been really contentious. And also some countries have been using procedural issues to stall the treaty, and others have been straightly negotiating out of bad faith.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that scientific reference, because stakeholders in the plastics industry and also oil producers, they say that ending plastic pollution should be the priority, not ending the production of plastic. But give us a sense of what the scientists and researchers are saying about this view versus curbing production.
It's a simple analogy. When your kitchen tap is overflowing, what do? Do you go pick the mop, or you go to turn off the tap? Definitely, I'll go and turn off the tap. And so for sure, production plays a major role in these plastics issues in such a way that we've been seeing overproduction of plastics. And research shows that 99% of plastics come from fossil fuels. And as the world is moving towards renewable energy, we know where the fossil fuels are going to find a lifeline, which is in plastics. There are over 16,000 chemicals that are used to make plastics or associated in making plastics, and 4,000 of these chemicals have hazardous issues to our health. And so thinking of it, we really need to make sure that even in the production, we need to know what is put in these plastics. And the fact that science also shows that 99% of all the plastics that has ever been produced has never been recycled. So we have 91% in the environment. Only 9% have been recycled, and 4% of these 9% has been recycled effectively. And so thinking of the amount of plastic that have been produced, which is like 8.3 billion metric tons, and each and every year we churn almost 400 million tons. So only recycling less than 9%. tells us that we are almost a lot of plastics into the environment, and recycling alone cannot solve the plastics crisis. And so we need to cut production of these plastics.
Now, going back to this failed talks, was there any progress made at all in terms of agreements that could push forward this discussion at the next talks? Do you agree with that view that the collapse of these latest talks means that we've now fallen further behind as it comes to finding a treaty?
We've been mark timing for the past 2.5 years, negotiating and renegotiating, countries stating their own positions, but we failed to come and converge and find a reason why we need to make sure that plastics is definitely a thing of the past. And so we've seen like no convergence even in closed meetings. And this time round, we also had ministers around, and also the ministers of environment could not even converge in some of the issues. And so we've been stalling this process and mark timing at the same place. We've not been moving. And also this week has also proved that even with 10 days of negotiations, we've not been moving at all. So at the moment, we've not moved, and we've gone back to what we had in Busan last year.
Well, then what happens next? Is it clear what's going to happen next? What are the next steps that might follow this latest round of negotiations in Geneva?
So this morning, the chair of the INC adjourned the meeting, and the meeting is set to resume at a later date that is going to be announced later. And so right now we're just waiting game. But I must say that the world leaders continue to disagree, plastics pollution will continue. We've given a license for the plastics producers to continue producing these plastics, and our communities, our own health, and even the health of the environment is paying the bigger price.